Sure, you'll find all sorts out there. A question was asked in one of our groups. It was something along the lines of, why don't our spouses leave us given we are in pain all the time and all the things we cannot do? People do leave. Research has shown that especially men leave, or there's a higher percentage where men leave more than women when the spouse becomes disabled. Because let's be honest, an untreated or untreatable AS patient is disabled. There are things we cannot do. And when you're married, there are things you cannot do. I cannot count the number of times I've found posts where people ask, how do we get intimate given the disability we have? So it starts in our SI joints. It's right across, like our pelvis. My bone scan results. I said to my people, my friends, my loved ones, guys, my pelvis is a mess. That bone scan was horrific. My pelvis, look, it was bad. The bones were inflamed, my joints were inflamed, the tendons and ligaments joining into the bones are inflamed. It was just a patch of disaster, not including the neck, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, the ankles, especially the right, the knees, the lumbar something and T something and L whatever, but the pelvis. And that's what we use, male and female, for intimacy and marriage. And so the question is then, what do you do? So, suggestions were given where you just don't put pressure on yourself as a woman, because it was a woman asking. So, yeah, it does impact every area of your life. It's not only about, the thing is, when you're in extreme pain, you can't fake it. When you're in a flare up, there is no way you can fake being okay. Not for the whole day, especially. In the morning, that's the worst. And then by the afternoon, that again becomes the worst. So we have, some hours where we're fine, but by the afternoon and evening, we're a mess. And that's when you are mostly with your spouse. That's when they're home, if they work outside of the home. Why don't they leave us? We can't really perform. Men can't perform like stallions in bed. But it's not only AS. There are many other diseases where the partner or the person becomes disabled, and I will draw on those. Not many people have written about AS. Not many disabled people who have been disabled by AS have written books, but not many, but there are many more books by MND people, motor neuron disease, and also by their caregivers, partners, spouses. So I will draw from their experiences. They don't leave us, those who don't leave, because when they say love, in that sense of love, which is the sense of love I've always had, love means loyalty. So when I say I love you, it also means I will be loyal to you. I will stay with you. I will be a loving spouse, which means I will stay through sickness or health. We can never predict what the sickness will be. I think I know all of us. Well, when we said it, I know when I wrote my vows, because we're given a template of the things we must include, including the rich and the sickness and all. I never envisioned the diseases I have. I just didn't. I thought it would be surgery back home. Surgery back home. Just a few minor issues that I had. Yeah. We really, unless we get married already diagnosed, We have no clue that cancer is going to come in 2 years' time, or 3 years' time, or 5 years' time. So when we say in sickness or in health, we have no clue what that means, what sickness means, what sickness is, what it can bring to the whole family. And it is a shock. I can imagine it is a shock. I've been a caregiver when my husband was hospitalized, but I knew he was, well, I eventually knew I was going to get better, and that's it, it's over. And I was there, loyal, because I'm loving, so I was there as a loyal, good woman. But people do leave. And they leave because they didn't love you with that sense of loyalty. That's why, because they don't know what real love is. God loved us imperfect as we are. So why shouldn't any other man or woman, if you're a man, but I'm speaking mostly to women because it was a woman who asked the question, why don't they leave? And it's mostly the women who say, how do we become intimate given the disabilities we have? The first pamphlet that I received from my rheumatologist, the second one, was about how you're gonna have to go and seek counseling for intimacy issues, and eventually a hip replacement can help. This is real stuff. When you get married, most of us, unless you're already married to someone who is already disabled in that aspect, you don't ever think that there will come a time when you can't do it while you're still young. You're always thinking, maybe when we're 90 years old or 100 years old or whatever, then, obviously nature will take its course. But you never think that in the prime of your life, such an integral part of marriage will disappear or have to change or look different or be boring or just not exist at all. But you see, I got married, and I'm sure many people got married for more than just intimacy. I know that's not the reason I got married. So that's why they stay. They didn't get married because they want to be intimate, and that is the sum total of what we are. We are more than just our pelvis. There are other ways to be intimate. Unfortunately, there are many other problems as well that come along where people cannot be intimate. I've got friends who've got endometriosis, and it's too painful. So it's not just AS or, those visible disorders like MND, motor neuron disease, or paralysis, where such issues are a part of marriage. But the husbands have stayed, despite the fact that they can never, ever fulfill that part of their marriage, ever. And they stay with love. No complaining. So, firstly, we're not only our pelvis. Secondly, we're not only what we can do. So, they didn't marry us because they were thinking, I didn't promise. I promise in my vows. I promise that I will wash dishes every day. I promise that I will mop every day. I promise that I will sweep. I promise that I will be able to sit up and mark the children's schoolwork. That wasn't why we married. We didn't marry, well, hopefully, we didn't marry for what the person can do, but for who the person is, what they are, what they bring, their character, their personality, what we gain from them. Companionship. You can be a companion lying in your bed, unable to move a single part of your body. And you can be a companion hiking up the mountain. It doesn't matter what your body can do. You can still be a companion, no matter what state you're in. Of course, when we're in pain, you can't hide that. And then you go hide. But hopefully you're not in pain all day, every day. And even when you are, I've read so many memoirs and biographies where the loved ones who watch the person in pain, they're not thinking, how can I stay with this person? Why am I still here? They're just thinking, I wish I could make their life easier. I know it is, we get struck with a lot of guilt when we live with chronic illness. That's like every day. You'll wake up tomorrow and you'll not be better. You'll wake up tomorrow when you've got a progressive disease like AS and MND and all these other things. Of course, they progress in different ways. But you know that tomorrow you'll be worse than you are than you were today. That is heavy. So it's not only the physical pain you're dealing with, it's the mental burden as well. It's guilt. It is guilt. We cannot and will not run away from that. You will feel guilty. It's natural. If you didn't feel guilty about being a burden, then there might be something wrong with you. Because naturally we want to give, not take. But now we're taking their energy, taking away their joy. But you see, they love us. They don't view it as, she is taking away my joy. It's this disease she has is stripping us both of our joy. So it's different. It's different. It's not you. We're not our pelvis. We are more than what we can do. We are our characters, our personalities. We are companions. That's why they stay. That is why they stay. And just the last thing I wanted to say is, yes, we do, well, not all of us, but many of us do want to die, just so that we can finally escape the pain. Many of us know we are dying. It's scary. I joined the ILD groups, interstitial lung disease groups, and I find people who are like me, and then a year later, they've been given 6 months to live. It doesn't compute. It really doesn't compute. And so they're choosing whether to die or live, or as in to die on their own. Like in New Zealand, you can do it, dignitas, that kind of dying, where you die before you're hooked up to a ventilator, unable to do anything except suffer. And different choices. But everybody who has watched their person died, not a single one of them wanted that person to die. No matter how disabled they were. MND just robs you and strips you. Motor neuron disease, for me, is worse than cancer in a way. Or actually, it's the same as cancer. Yeah. I will say that because here especially amongst the Black people I know, a certain subset of us, we only fear a disease if we hear that it's cancer. Even when it's a treatable cancer, and a slow, very treatable cancer, we act like that is a worse fate than even AS or MS or ALS. We do. And so, guys, there's more to fear than cancer. Cancer, dear Africans, is not the only disease out there that is capable of killing, that can render us in so much pain that we want to die today. It's not the only thing. It's not the worst thing. And others all, are seen like colds or coughs. Like it's a cough. When you look at cancer, it's like the worst thing and everything else is just a cough. It's not how it is. There are many other diseases that are really, it's all the same. They're all terminal. They all result in disability and pain in some, different ways. And so for me, MND is one of them. So you will find people with motor neuron disease who cannot do a single thing for themselves. Their wives carry them because they're so wasted away, muscles atrophied, gone. They're as light as a feather almost, but not quite. Their wives are picking them up. Their wives are exercising them in the pools. Their wives are wiping their rear ends. When they use the toilet, their wives are putting them in diapers. And their wives are breaking down when those men say they can't do it anymore. They want to just hasten their expected end date. That's why they stay. They stay because they love us and they don't want us to die. They don't want us to be gone. They stay because they need us. That woman, she's not thinking, most are not thinking, my goodness, I wish he'd be gone, then I'd be free. They're thinking, they're thinking, what will I do when he is gone? How will I survive when he is gone? I will miss his presence. They don't leave because they want our presence. When you are feeling extremely down on yourself and you're in your worst moment, please don't forget your loved one who has stayed thus far is staying with you because even in your worst moment, you are the best person for them. They feel it in their hearts and they feel it in their souls. And yes, they don't want you to suffer, but they would rather have 20 worse days with you than 20 without. They love us. That is why they stay.